This program is a collaboration of personal opinions and individual free thought. It does not represent the views or narrative of the mainstream corporate media hacks. Viewer discretion is advised.
And here we go.
Live from the bell tower, taking a stand for your rights, your liberties, and all the bullshit in between. You're listening to Break the Bell Podcast.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Break the Bell Podcast, where Bill, his video is not popping up here. Bill, are you here?
I am here.
Oh, I didn't even have your mic on. I just inadvertently fired you and didn't realize it, and you showed up anyway. And I was just like,
The guy
the
in
universe,
Office Space.
the universe itself just fired you and didn't fill me in. Let me see if I can get you in because
We'll just stop paying him, and eventually he'll get the hint.
yeah, I mean, I haven't paid you for a while, so we get paid for this. You get paid for this job. It's like that meme. What's that movie? It's got Jennifer Aniston in it, and
Office Space.
no,
Yeah.
it's got like is that the one where they're like, you guys are getting paid for this?
Oh, no,
yeah, that's
no.
like a family. It's like some family,
Oh,
or they're like pretending to be a family.
oh, gotcha. I know what you're talking about.
I can't think of what the movie's called, but it's like they stopped paying me for this. You getting paid for this? All right, let me see if I can get you in here. Maybe I just added you to nothing. How's everybody doing out there without Bill? I'm enjoying it so much more without Bill. I could just mute him and
You'll still hear me, so it's not really
I
peaceful.
mean, I got earbuds in, so technically I won't hear you. We got a fun one tonight. It seems like every 6 months we're like, is this Civil War? Like
Yeah,
with the
right.
butterflies?
Yeah.
It's like, and for some reason it always comes back to Texas somehow.
Yeah.
Like Texas is always like, so we're going to start a civil war. It's like, but are you actually going to start a civil war? Because I mean, all right, what's going on now? Oh, okay. All right. We almost got you in. You're almost there.
Yay! I'm here.
I found him. I found Bill, everybody. You can all rest assured. Nobody's here looking
Yeah.
anyway. So nobody even realized you were gone.
Yeah,
so
right. So everybody gets excited. They rush down to the Texas border, and then they're like, "Oh,
yeah, pretty much. Well, there's so much media hype around shit like this.
Yeah.
And there's peaceful protests, I guess you could say, headed
Right.
there, which sounds like a big fed up, in my opinion.
But didn't you hear they're all like white supremacist?
Oh, so not
Yeah.
clear, obviously
Yeah.
not a fed up if they're white supremacists and white nationalists, Christian white nationalists.
Yes. Yep.
The truckers are heading that way. And it was organized on Instagram, so
Right.
you know it's clearly not feds or
Yeah.
anything like that. There's Proud Boys like
Yeah.
putting their 2 cents in.
Canadian truckers are coming down.
Yeah, so you know it's not feds in any way. So something is going on down there.
Yeah.
And it's all started out with Texas decided, the feds aren't doing shit about the border here, so we're going to do shit about the border
Yeah.
here. To me, it seems it's probably a political stunt on Greg Abbott's part. What are the odds that Greg Abbott's going to throw in his hat in the ring for the president
Maybe
spot?
he's going for VP.
Something. I don't know. He's a little late to get on the
Yeah.
primaries or anything, but he's making moves. He's definitely making moves, but it almost sounds like DeSantis style moves.
Right.
Just enough to piss people off, but you're not actually going to do anything.
Right. Yeah.
Like not a damn thing. But I mean, we'll see. Like it's getting to the point where it's like showdown between the feds and Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Texas National Guard not letting Border Patrol agents into whatever park. And there's Democrats and I think some Republicans that are like, you should telling Biden, you should federalize the Texas National Guard. It's like, you think that's a good idea?
Horrible idea.
You really think,
That's
especially Texas.
Yeah.
It's like,
right.
that's ours. We're taking it.
Yeah.
What of all the things that you could do to incite a civil war?
Yeah.
Federalizing Texas's National Guard might be one of the stupidest things.
It's like the idiots that were calling for martial law. Oh, he just needs to declare martial law.
Yeah, that's
all.
pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, just federalize them all, just call them up and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to talk about that because there are circumstances, obviously, where the president can federalize the National Guard.
Mm-hmm.
This might not be one of those legally.
I don't think so.
So it could be interesting. Not only could it potentially lead to a civil war, but also could lead to criminal charges against Joe Biden for doing so. So I guess a part of me is like, do it, man. Just like poking poking it with a stick. It's like, come on, let's start a civil war, do something. Yeah. Because we don't get enough action here at home these days. So I feel like we need more. I'm not saying we need I want a civil war.
No.
I'm not saying I don't think we need I don't know what we need.
Yeah, we need something to change.
Something needs to change.
Hopefully not a civil war, but
hopefully not. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
It's going to make for good episodes of this podcast if we do go to civil war.
Yeah, we'd be broadcasting from the bunker.
Yes, I might be broadcasting from like the battlefield or something. Right. Just like one of those news guys that's like in there, like all way too fucking close. It's like, why the hell are you that close, man?
Bullets whizzing past your head.
That's probably not going to be me, but I don't know. You got people in Texas that are like, we need to defend ourselves if Biden does this, and you need to start buying up guns and shit. It's just like, in reality, is anything going to come of this?
Yeah. Well, Biden's already trying to deal, wheel and deal. And unfortunately, none of the wheeling and dealing is going to change any shit except for Biden's big angle is, I'll secure the border. We just need to send another $100 billion over to Ukraine.
Obviously, yeah, that's his solution to everything. We're going to talk about all that stuff. There's an audio clip of Joe Biden referencing this, and I don't know if it's real. God damn it, Bill!
It's just our kickoff,
Jesus. Anyway, Bill does not know how to put his phone on silent.
I don't. It's true.
Derailed me. There's an audio clip of Joe Biden. Not sure if it's Joe Biden. Well, we're going to listen to all this, but if it is Joe Biden, it's really fucking bad. It's really bad. So we'll obviously listen to that. And then we'll talk about the potential of Texas seceding, because there's all kinds of rumors. Well, Texas just needs to secede. Yeah. Whether or not that's even a possibility. Whether or not civil war is a thing. This isn't our full-blown Civil War watch one, but we're going to talk about this Texas showdown because it needs talked about, because everybody's talking about it. So we might as well.
I've been keeping an eye on it, and I got to admit, when I saw that Biden put 24 hours, I'm like, ooh, I wonder what's going to happen.
Oh, the thing that got me wasn't even that. It was Greg Abbott's letter.
That was, I saw that.
The part I was just like, oh shit. Yeah, me too. So we're going to get into all that when we get through this, after we get through this pre-show. Got to say, obviously, check us out all over the social medias. You can find us at our handle at Break the Bell Pod. Share us far and wide. Buy our shit at breakthebell.bigcartel.com. We're going to have to come up with the Civil War 2024 t-shirt. So that would be awesome. Check us out everywhere. Share us far and wide while you still can. We're not kicked off yet because we're not important enough yet. So make us big enough that they want to kick us off more. That's all I have. Do you have anything else?
No, I think we're ready to get into it.
Do you want to leave the site? No, what is happening? We are going to get into this pre-show.
With you right now.
It really is. We're going to get into this show intro video thing. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the latest Texas showdown, which is one of many, I guess. But this is the latest one. We'll be right back.
What did you say?
You talking to me?
What the heck are you talking about?
What did you say? What did you say?
What did you say?
Are you talking to me?
Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
What are you saying?
What did you say?
Are you talking to me?
Well, maybe he was talking to me.
What'd you say?
Talk to me.
What in heaven's name are you talking about?
Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me, baby.
Did you just say? What did you say? You listen to me.
Are you talking to me?
Are you talking to me?
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
We're back. Would you consider Texas still like the wild, wild west? I think they think that they are.
They try to be. They try to live it up, but
I mean, they still wear their cowboy hats,
right, and the boots and the belt buckles.
Yeah,
big ass belt buckles.
I mean, I have never really spent much time in Texas. I passed through.
Yeah, I think like maybe like the west side of the state, but like all the major population areas are definitely not. Like
No.
I was listening to Glenn Beck a little bit today, and he was talking about how the Canadian truckers are coming down, and he hopes they avoid Austin because Austin's basically Portland of Texas.
Oh, jeez. Like, that's not real Texas.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So, still the wild, wild west, I guess, because we still have this Texas showdown. We've got Texas versus the rest of the world. I mean, it seems like every year Texas is
right.
Like, what was
That was
it?
the
like,
energy thing, remember? When they were
Well,
like,
yeah.
oh, well, they have their own grid. So.
Yeah, they have their own energy grid, which good on them.
Yeah,
Fucking good on them.
absolutely.
They're
I
that
wish I
much
had my
more
own
set up
energy
to
grid.
succeed, I guess. But it seemed, I think it was like 2022, Republicans tried to put on the ballot. I don't know if it actually made it to the ballot, but they tried to put on the ballot whether or not we should like become an independently ran nation of Texas. It seems like they attempt to put that on the ballot every couple of years, and good on them for trying. I mean, if you don't agree with what's like the federal government is supposed to represent all the states,
Right.
and if you don't feel they're representing all the states, I mean, legally, can they? Well, we're going to talk about that, but should they be able to? I feel like if your state doesn't feel represented, then maybe we should like consider our options at least.
It's like, it's not me, it's not you, it's me. Maybe we should.
I mean,
go our
should
separate
they
ways.
secede as one state? I think that would just fail utterly.
Oh, absolutely, it would. I mean,
utterly fail.
Mexico would just be like, you know what, we just want it back.
Yeah,
we're gonna just go get it.
Well, I mean, just think about like trade options for one
right.
state.
Yeah.
Just think about trade routes for one state.
Right.
Just think about like, I don't know, everything else that you have benefited from by sucking the teat off the federal government for the last couple hundred years.
And I mean, let's be honest, Texas's main resource is oil.
Right.
So we'd be there anyways. Be like, well, we're trying to make it safe for democracy. So
they hate our freedom down there in Texas.
Yeah, right.
Let's go preserve freedom in Texas.
We're gonna build schools and roads.
So I don't know about Texas. I feel everybody focuses on Texas, even though like other states do shit that, like Iowa came up with the concealed carry permit, or not the concealed carry. What is it? Constitutional carry.
Yeah.
They implemented that a few years ago, and then like 8 months later, Texas like. Everybody's like, Texas implements constitutional carry. Look at Texas being the wild, wild west. It's like, we've had that for like a year now. What are you talking about?
But it was like, remember when COVID and was it, we were like one of the first ones that was like, oh, well, we're not doing mask anymore or something like that. And then Texas did it. And they're like, look at Texas. They're bucking the system.
It's like, let's see how it goes in Iowa first.
Yeah, right.
And then we'll try it out. If it works okay in Iowa, then we'll try it out. So, maybe Iowa's the wild, wild west.
Right?
Did you ever think about that?
Yeah, it's possible.
I mean, it's possible that we are.
Did you see any other state like, threatening to succeed except for Texas?
Not first.
Yeah.
There might be some followers that's like, yeah, Texas, we got your back, bro. And Texas like, I'm not. And they're like, we're seceding too. And Texas like, well, I'm not so sure about this. It's like, whoa, we can't do this on our own.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like,
I guess Iowa did it, so okay.
right. I was gonna have to secede before Texas even considers. So we got this shit going on, Texas versus the federal government
Again,
and this time, and a lot of like over the last probably 3 years, it's been over immigration, especially since Biden's taken office. Right. I mean, Trump didn't do that much good for immigration. He did maybe better. I don't know. I didn't study it that much.
I didn't either. He said he did better.
He thinks Trump supporters think he did better, but I don't know. But as soon as like Biden takes over, Texas is like, we want our country back.
Yeah, right.
And so there's been a lot going on though since this summer. Like there's been this like kind of ramp up. Well, there's been a lot of migration over the border since this summer.
What they said, 9 million people came over last year?
Yeah, something like that.
300,000 just in December alone.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
So like kind of flashback to the summer back in July. These are just some of the events that have built up to where we are today with this big standoff and the truckers and the National Guard and all that shit. So back in July, Texas was installing these floating barriers in the Rio Grande. Do you remember that? They're just a floating barrier, and the federal government sued them. They're like, you can't do that. That they said that risks public safety was one of their concerns, and then it was like impeding like the flow of like traffic, which I understand that part maybe.
Sure.
And then some other things, but it was just like it was risk to public safety and shit like that. Even though they put out like the freaking ropes at the beaches, that doesn't risk our public. I thought that was for public safety. It's like keep us out of the dangerous waters, or keep the immigrants out of the dangerous United States. Because
I always thought they should just put alligators in there.
I mean, yeah, might as well. I mean, if you're willing to risk it to get across alligator infested waters, then you deserve to be here.
Absolutely.
Like you have earned your right to be
have
here.
People and a camera, so you like get past the alligators, and then they're like, "Yay!" They take your picture, and they give you a citizenship award.
It's like the big all-you-can-eat contest. Like eat like a 72-ounce steak in an hour. You get a picture on a T-shirt and a hat and photo on the wall, and U.S. citizenship.
You'll put your picture on the border wall, and you're in.
We're good. I mean,
I'm down with that.
It seems like the easiest solution,
and televise the whole thing,
obviously. But so that happened in July. The government sued them. I don't know what came out of that lawsuit. If they had to take it down,
I think they had to take it down.
Then fast forward to October, Texas sued the federal government because the Border Patrol was coming in, because over the last 3 years, Texas has been putting up razor wire all along, especially in this like one specific area. Spent like $11 million on razor wire, and Border Patrol agents are coming in and cutting it out because they're like, oh, this is impeding our job.
Right.
How is it impeding their job, first of all?
I don't know.
Now, one thing they did say was like, it's not allowing them to rescue people in distress. So like if somebody, like for instance, the last month, a couple weeks, month or so, a couple people drowned in the Rio Grande, and they're saying it's the National Guard's fault for stopping them from being able to go in and save them. And then Texas government's like, no, they drowned before you guys even got here, and we were just watching them. So
we got the whole thing on video,
right? So things like that. It's just like, well, there are people like dying, literally dying, and you're not allowing us with your razor wire or National Guard to go and like help them. But the Texas government, when they're also in that lawsuit that was saying, hey, they're destroying state property, they're cutting out this razor wire. They claimed that the Border Patrol was also parking like pickup trucks and dropping ropes down from them into the water to let people get out easier, which I guess there is two sides of this. There's like, from a national standpoint, it's like you're just making it easier for these fucking people to get in. And from a humanities side, it's just like you probably saving a couple lives of like children and stuff that are drowning because their parents or their traffickers are trying to float them, like drag them through a river, and and so it's like, hey, this is impeding our process of being able to detain them and process them out and stuff, and like actually see if they need like saved. But I don't know. Where do you stand on this?
Well, I mean, and I was just gonna say that it's like it's kind of tough when like, okay, they take the kids, they throw them into the fast moving river, right? And it's like you can let them die because they're illegal.
They're Mexicans,
right? Or you save them, and then they're like, oh, they're yours problem now. See ya, and it's like then
like where's the line?
Right?
Literally,
exactly. I mean, yeah, you can't just let people die, but at the same time, it's like that's kind of like their loophole. Like, oh well, you saved them, so they're yours now.
They're your problem now.
Yeah.
I don't know where I stand still to this day on the border stuff, and we've gone over this so many times. Like, I do understand there are humanity issues. There are people that are literally coming over here just to survive.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know.
I don't have a problem with people coming here. It's the fact that there's so many people coming over and nobody's keeping track of it.
Right.
I mean, it's a huge security risk.
Oh, yeah.
And Mexico doesn't give a fuck. Right.
No, Mexico doesn't. And
the cartels are loving it because they're shipping people over.
Right. How do you mitigate that
without
like some sort of barrier, without some sort of controls? You can't, like, people there are places where you can attempt to I get that the immigration system is fucked. It's completely screwed up. But you can't just allow people just to flow in anywhere at any point and say, "Oh, Border Patrol's on this. They've got track of them." It's like, no, they clearly don't.
Clue.
So, like, what do you do in that situation?
I think we need to take over Mexico.
Because nobody is concerned when there is like barbed wire outside of a freaking federal building or something. It's just like, well, what about the people that cut themselves climbing over the wires?
Yeah.
What if literally somebody was climbing over the White House fence because somebody was chasing them? They were about to die. They climb over, jump over the fence, and start booking it. They're still gonna get shot.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean, we'll find out after the fact. Well, that kind of sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, they just needed help, but a lot of situations like that, a lot of people aren't going to ask questions.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's hiking over a prison wall, they're probably going to get detained or they're going to cut themselves or something. It's like, what do we take the razor wire down to keep those people from cutting themselves because of humanity?
And you would like to think that people would see it and common sense be like, okay, well, shit.
Probably should have
go
tried
around
to climb
back.
Yep. I mean, obviously those are two totally different situations, but you get what I'm saying. It's like, well, we can't have this here because the people that are coming in are cutting themselves and they're dying on it. So that's a problem. It's just like, so again, where's the line at?
Right. And people knew. I mean, we talked about this when we did our border thing a couple years ago. Is that people knew with Biden becoming president that they were going to be able to get in. That's why there was busloads, caravans coming to the border because they knew that they were going to get in. And now we're at this point where it's like. It's nonstop, almost.
So the current state that we're in started about a month ago. Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, the true cowboy that he is, signed a bill, a new border law bill, Texas border law bill, which sounds like something he should be able to do, but technically he's not supposed to do because the federal government is responsible for immigration policy and enforcing immigration policy. So the fact that he signs this law in effect kind of sparked the shit storm that we're sitting in today. So this is from thehill.com. It says a new border law signed by Texas Governor Greg Abbott picks a direct fight with federal authorities on a key constitutional question: who gets to control Texas's border, which is more than 1,200 miles long? I don't know if you drove through Texas.
I've not. I've flown into and I've hung out.
It sucks.
Yeah,
it really sucks. It's like you start driving, and then a day later you're like, "Where am I at now?" And you're still in freaking Texas. There is a lot of border in Texas. It says To most legal scholars, this is not a question at all. They hold that the authority rests in the federal government, a view most recently upheld in the Supreme Court in 2012 after Arizona sought to allow state police to check residents' migration status. El Paso County and American Civil Liberties Union cited that the Supreme Court decision in a Tuesday lawsuit challenging Texas law's constitutionality, asserting that the federal government has exclusive power over immigration. But in the years since the shuttering of official federal crossings early in the COVID-19 pandemic led to a spike in undocumented border crossings, Texas Republicans have asserted that the border is in crisis and that only they can fix it. I wouldn't say that only they can fix it. I would say more that nobody else is even attempting to fix it. So they're the only ones at this point willing to try to fix it.
And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it's okay for the federal government to be like, no, this is the way it is, because they're not the ones that actually have to deal with it.
Right. It's like when Kamala Harris went down to the border and she goes to the towns that aren't really having issues.
Like, no problem here.
Like there's no immigrants here. What are you talking about? It says, by passing the law, they've set the stage for another showdown over where authority on the issue lies. A showdown Abbott at least argues Texas can and should win. President Biden's deliberate inaction has left Texas to fend for itself, Abbott said in a statement. Today, I will sign 3 laws to better protect Texas and America from President Biden's border neglect. The new laws, the governor argued, will help stop the tidal wave of illegal entry into Texas, add additional funding to build more border wall, and crack down on human smuggling. The first on the list is also the furthest reaching. Senate Bill 4, passed during a previous special session of the state legislature this fall, makes crossing the border into Texas outside an official port of entry a criminal offense and one with a potential penalty of 20 years in prison. Shouldn't it already be a criminal offense to illegally? I mean, there's a reason why it's called illegal.
Right. It is. It is a criminal offense.
But now they're tacking on the 20-year in prison if you cross in a non-official port into Texas.
To me, that doesn't solve anything.
No,
right? Because you're putting them in a
you're
prison.
Just housing a bunch of
right, exactly. So, either way, you got to deal with them.
It says Texas has been tiptoeing into criminalizing migration. The state has arrested more than 30,000 migrants since the beginning of its border interdiction operation in 2021 on criminal trespass charges, creating what border legal organizations call a shadow criminal legal system. So Texas, because they're charging with criminal trespass, which is something that they could probably legally, a legal loophole, I would think.
Yeah.
They are developing a shadow criminal legal system. That seems extreme to me.
That does seem extreme.
That seems a little far-fetched there.
Yeah.
The state and their shadow legal system. But the new law goes even further by giving state police officers the right to arrest migrants and state judges the right to sentence them. That law marks an apparent incursion into a policy area presided by the federal government, which has long reserved unto itself the right to regulate the nation's borders. Now, the fact that they're letting state judges try these cases, that's, I think, where they're going to run into issues.
Yeah.
I think by arresting them, they can be like, well, this person was criminally trespassing. And then they could be like, oh, we found out this guy was an illegal immigrant. Let's kick this up to the feds. Let's turn him over to the feds, which the feds will probably, at the end of the day, turn around and release him anyway.
Right.
But still, you're still kind of falling in that jurisdiction of the feds are responsible for immigration.
Yeah, they're hoping to expedite things by getting them on a.
Yeah, we're helping you. We're just helping you do your job.
Right.
We're getting them into your hands easier.
1,200 miles of border. You can't get it all. We're helping.
Says in Arizona versus the U.S., the Supreme Court upheld the right, ruling 5-3 that federal law overruled or preempted state authority on a host of laws related to the border. 2012 decision struck down an Arizona law that made it a state-level crime for migrants to be in the country unlawfully, arguing that the law was an unconstitutional foray into federal authority. In the majority opinion, Justice Anthony Kennedy laid out a clear vision of federal authority on the border policy, which Abbott is now challenging. The government of the United States has broad, undoubted power over the subject of immigration and the status of aliens. The federal power to determine immigration policy is well settled. This was important, he added, because it's fundamental that foreign countries concerned about the status, safety, and security of their nationals in the United States must be able to confer and communicate on this subject with one national sovereign, not the 50 separate states. Abbott told reporters he believed the new law was constitutional, but he welcomed a challenge. We think Texas already has a constitutional right to do this, but we also welcome a Supreme Court decision that would overturn the precedent set in the Arizona case. Conservatives argue he has a shot. The Supreme Court ruling U.S. versus Arizona leaves open a big opportunity for states to step into immigration policy, wrote law professor John Blackman of South Texas College of Law in Houston. In the libertarian magazine Reason, Blackman pointed to one of Kennedy's caveats in the decision that the case didn't require the court to decide whether reasonable suspicion of illegal entry or another immigration crime would be a legitimate basis for prolonging a detention, or whether this too would be preempted by federal law. Sounds like a lot of legal bullshit that could be taken both directions.
Right. It's all about interpretation.
That means he left open the question of whether Texas can detain aliens who violate federal immigration law. The court could uphold Abbott's order without overruling Arizona, but this holding would undermine the weight of Arizona. This just keeps talking about the Arizona case versus this case. What do you think about this? About Texas taking this in their own hand? Do you think they have a legal right to do this?
I do, because so the main purpose of the federal government originally, okay, obviously it's evolved into something that's bullshit.
Yes.
But originally the federal government was supposed to provide fair trade and provide for a common defense.
Yes.
So by ignoring the border problem, they are no longer providing for a common defense, and they're leaving that to Texas to deal with.
Well, that's kind of Abbott's claim. It's like they're not upholding their
Yeah.
duty to protect us from invasion, as he calls it.
Right.
So he declares it an invasion. Then he can say they're not doing their job, so somebody has to do their job.
And what do you call 9 million people coming over?
Right.
Without any kind of, documentation or any kind of recording or even like knowing who or from where. It's like there's no ideas.
And down there, they're all brown, so they're all
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't know if they're the Taliban or just Mexican, just plain
or
old
Chinese.
Mexican. Or Chinese.
Did you see that clip I sent you with Nancy Pelosi?
I didn't.
She was in her driveway and pro-Palestinian, like people like surrounded her and were like shouting out and stuff. And she told them to all go back to China.
Oh, Jesus. What world do we live in? The new Texas law is part of a broader package of legislation signed into law by Abbott during the special session of state legislature this fall, including other measures that may step into areas traditionally governed by federal authority. First, there's $1.54 billion in funding for Texas to run its own border patrol and build a border wall. Second, a bill passed this special season, confusingly also called Bill 4. Like, how many Bill 4s are there?
They need a task force.
Prescribes harsh penalties against smugglers. The law targets both those moving people, from whom it sets a 10-year mandatory minimum sentence, and those moving or transshipping drugs such as fentanyl. These measures also give added funding and teeth to another sweeping suite of bills that state Republicans were able to pass during the normal 2023 legislative session. Those allow the state police deployed on Texas border to search and arrest migrants, as well as coordinate with police force in other states, taking their own steps into border enforcement without asking for congressional approval. In addition to pushback over its constitutionality, the law imposing criminal charges on undocumented border crossers has raised concerns about human rights and potential unintended consequences. Border civil society groups such as Border Networks for Human Rights were quick to condemn the bill, which they argue would be used to target families in communities along the border. The bill will only further increase the human and civil rights violation currently being committed and drive hundreds of mixed status families, Texans of color, immigrants, and refugees further into the shadows, said Fernando Garcia, executive director of Border Network for Human Rights. Abbott says he has left us no choice but to resist. So that's where we were at a month ago.
Right.
Greg Abbott says, I'm passing laws saying we're going to arrest people for doing illegal things like crossing the border. And they also passed bills saying we're going to build our own border wall, which, I mean, as long as you pull it back away from the federal border and just build it like a mile back, is that so wrong? It's like, this ain't on your property, this is on my property.
No, see, the federal border's up there. That's okay, but this is our state border.
Yeah. So, is he wrong? Is he right?
I think he's right.
Does it hold any weight?
It should.
I mean, Arizona tried it about 10, 12 years ago.
Well, I mean, the Supreme Court's already ruled in favor of the federal government.
Yeah,
so good luck with that.
Right, exactly. I again, it comes back to precedent. The precedent was set back in Arizona, so now it's going to be that much easier for them to be like, look, we said it here. We're going to say we can't play favorites, even though you are Texas. We like you guys are the wild, wild west, but we got to uphold this.
And that was conservative judges that came to that decision, right? So it's, I think because obviously it's his state, it's his people in the state that are going to have to provide for these people.
Right.
I mean, it's federally, it's our tax dollars, but he's the one that's got to figure out where they're going to stay, where they're going to work, what kind of care they're going to receive. I
mean, that's true. Like, well, that's the thing. Like you were saying before, it's like the feds can say all this stuff, but then at the end of the day, it's the Texans that are the ones being hurt by this, or, but then it's like, well, instead, why don't we just send them to other states so we don't have to deal with it? And then it's like, then you get like what was it, Hillary, that was like, he should be written up on human trafficking charges and shit like that. It's just like, really, we're gonna play that game?
Yeah, but I mean, look at the communities. I mean, New York is overtaxed. Freaking Chicago. I mean, all these big cities, these sanctuary cities. They're clearing out hotels, they're clearing out the schools and putting people up in them, and those people now have to, provide.
Yeah,
and so it's just he just needs to. They need to find a country to send these people to and be like, no, this is America too.
Like Liberia?
Yeah,
Are you proposing a Mexican Liberia
There
deal?
you go. There you go. Let's send them to Africa.
Or send them back to China, as Nancy Pelosi said.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. You can tell she's slipping a little bit.
Yeah, right.
So, speaking of slipping, Joe Biden's administration has come out this last week, back on the 15th, so it's been a few days ago, and said and warned that they will take action if Texas doesn't stop blocking federal agents from the border area. So in all of this, there's this one specific park area that's like the big hot spot right now, and they're still setting up razor wire. The Texas National Guard isn't allowing Border Patrol agents to even come into the area, and so it's kind of it's escalating.
Yeah,
because you have state troops blocking federal troops from entering,
and law enforcement
from entering their state areas.
Yeah,
and some could say, I guess, like some of these areas are federal lands that they're blocking them from getting onto. So with all of this, Biden's administration has warned that they will take action. Sounds ominous, doesn't it?
Yes.
Like, what kind of action does Joe Biden take against Texas? Oh, jeez. It's like, if you don't stop it, I'm going to take action.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would, like I think I had sent you. It's like, I'm not sure to expect a Waco moment, or.
I think that's probably more than likely what the media is trying to portray this as. Like, hey, this is going to be the next Waco.
Yeah.
It's going to be the next big thing. And they're trying to push it to be that next big thing. And at the end of the day, it's not going to be the next big thing.
No.
That's just how this stuff goes. We're just always disappointed. It's like we get led on,
right?
And then they leave us with blue balls at the end of the day.
I know, right? Unless it's going to be the next site for some kind of false flag operation, right?
That is most likely the case. It says the Biden administration Sunday demanded that Texas officials stop preventing the federal border, Jesus, dyslexia, federal border agents from entering a section of the U.S. southern border commandeered by state National Guard soldiers last week, calling the actions clearly unconstitutional. If the Texas National Guard does not heed the Biden administration's demand and cease its efforts to block Border Patrol's access to public parks in the border town of Eagle Pass, so it's Eagle Pass is the park area.
That's the park.
The Department of Homeland Security will refer the matter to the Justice Department and explore other options. It's like, if you don't listen to us, we're going to explore our options.
Some tough talk.
It is. It's like, you're not going to like what comes next. We're going to explore our options.
And you won't like it.
It says Jonathan Meyer is the top lawyer of DHS. He warned Texas. He said, Texas's abrupt move last week to seize control of Eagle Pass, Shelby Park, an area where Border Patrol used to inspect and hold migrants, had impeded federal operation to apprehend migrants and rescue those who may be in distress. He cited the drowning of 3 migrants, a woman and 2 children near Shelby Park on Friday, which Texas, like I said, they were like, well, they were drowned before you guys wouldn't have got here anyway.
Right.
They drowned long before we impeded you.
Yeah, right.
We sat there and watched.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
Yeah.
To teach them not to try to get into our country. The White House, DHS, and Texas Democrat Representative Henry Kuehler have said Texas National Guard soldiers blocked Border Patrol agents from attempting to render aid to the migrants on Friday. On Sunday, the Texas Military Department, which controls the state National Guard, disputed the claim, saying 2 of the migrants had already drowned when the Border Patrol requested access to the park. The department has not denied barring Border Patrol from entering the park. Texas's failure to provide access to the border persists even in instances of imminent danger to life and safety. DHS gave Texas until the end of the day Wednesday to relent. If you have not confirmed by the end of the day on January 17th that Texas will cease and desist its efforts to block Border Patrol's access in and around Shelby Park and remove all barriers to access to the U.S.-Mexico border, we will refer matters to the Department of Justice for appropriate action and consider all other options available to restore Border Patrol's access to the border. So we're going to consider all other options. What are the all other options that are referring to? Because there's a lot of other options out there, and they're considering all other options.
Yes.
Like
every one of them.
There's asking nicely.
Yes.
Like saying pretty please.
Yes.
All the way to
now
saying you're going to do it now.
Mm.
All the way to saying I'm going to tell your mother about this. All the way to this end of the spectrum, that is, we're going to send in our troops against your troops. And like Joe Biden likes to point out, F-15s and F-16s are a lot worse than AR-15s.
That's true.
I mean, he loves to say that. So when they say we're considering all other options, those other options could be pretty damning. And for them to say, well, we got a lot in our toolbox compared to you guys, and we're going to consider everything in our toolbox if you guys don't heed our word.
But he also has to know he's opening a big can of worms if he does that.
You would think so. You'd think he would know that, but I mean, he likes to threaten it.
He does. Yeah.
So I don't think he would probably. I would like to think he wouldn't actually do it.
I would think that would. I mean, who wants to be president of a civil war?
Yeah, I mean, Abraham Lincoln didn't seem to mind.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was. A lot of people still consider him one of the greatest presidents. So, even though he like single-handedly like boosted the federal government's freaking steel hand or whatever, just sweeping federal powers under Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
So, but man, if he could be still like he's lumped in with founding fathers, even though he wasn't even alive during the founding.
Right.
So can you imagine like Joe Biden might, I could see Trump doing that. He'd be like, I want to be president during a civil war. I want to be the next Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
So
but I would say, I mean, based on opinion for good or for worse, Lincoln is responsible for the modern shape of the country.
Yes.
So
like absolutely him, and there's a couple of like Roosevelt is up there.
Wilson.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
he
Not
he is personally responsible for the overreaching federal government as it is today. Not saying that, definitely not saying that the southern states should have been allowed to keep slaves or should have kept slaves, but yeah, pretty much put the nail in the coffin to this was kind of a social compact between the federal government and the states to, no, you're fucking ours. You are ours. This compact thing that you guys like to throw out there, that doesn't exist.
We own you.
They like we'll get into, I want to get into like the whole compact stuff between like the Constitution being a compact, like the compact theory.
Right.
We'll get into that in a little bit, but yeah, that pretty much was like, you know what, you guys didn't actually secede.
Yeah.
Because it was never an option for you in the first place.
Yeah.
You mutinied.
Yeah.
You did like
you rebelled.
You were traitors and shit, but you never seceded technically because you didn't have the right to secede.
Yeah.
And now you still don't have the right to secede. And the fact that we're allowing you back in, you're agreeing that you never had the right. You never seceded. Like we're not even like rejoining you because you never left in the first place.
Yeah.
So I mean, that could be we should do a show about how shitty Abraham Lincoln probably actually was. So it goes on to say, Texas has said its move to seize control of Shelby Park and ban federal agents from the area through armed soldiers, fencing, and razor wires designed to deter unlawful crossings by migrants. Its latest flashpoint in a years-long political and legal feud over the U.S. border policy between Republican Governor Greg Abbott and President Biden, a Democrat. Over the past years, Abbott has taken unprecedented and controversial steps in response to what he has deemed to be lackluster effort by Biden to contain record levels of migrant crossings. I don't think you have to put in there that Abbott deems this lackluster efforts. I think everybody, Democrats, Republicans alike, would probably agree that the border has been lackluster efforts by Joe Biden.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still claiming that the border's not a crisis at this point. They're still like refusing to really acknowledge that there's actually a problem down there. So you can't say, oh, this Governor Abbott it's his personal opinion that this is lackluster efforts by Joe Biden.
They were fucking lining up at the border as soon as they found out Biden was going to be elected.
Yeah. It says, in his letter on Sunday, Meyer noted the federal government is the one tasked with regulating immigration, including inspection, processing, and arrest of migrants who enter the U.S. without permission. Texas's seizure of Shelby Park is obstructing federal officials from carrying out these obligations. State laws cannot be applied to restrain federal agents from carrying out federally authorized activities, Meyer said. So, Joe Biden has, well, at least his administration, he's eating ice cream.
Yeah.
His administration has said, you better stop or else.
Right. Right.
Do you think the or else could get to the extreme or else where it's like, well, we're just going to set in
I don't think
marshals, troops, whatever? You don't think that they would? What if they just keep saying no?
Yeah. But
because I mean, the Supreme Court came out this week or last week and was like, you got to stop doing that. You got to let them do the job. Right. And Texas was like, fuck you.
Right.
We're not going to do it. Which Joe Biden has done how many times? How many times since he's been president has the Supreme Court said, that's not really a thing. You can't do that. Yeah. And they're like, he's like, well, I'm just going to do it anyway, or I'm going to
sign an executive order.
Yeah, executive order. And they're like, that executive order doesn't hold up. He's like, yeah, but we're going to keep doing it, or we're going to follow through with it anyway. And they're like, well, shit. Yeah. Well, he did it anyway. So when they're like, well, the Supreme Court said so. Oh no, Texas ain't doing it though. The Supreme Court said so. It's like, but you guys do the same thing when it's fine for you, convenient for you to do so. You do the same thing, or you at least find loopholes around it.
Do you feel like they would? We know that the federal government, feels like its citizens are expendable.
Yeah.
Do you feel like they would do some kind of 9/11 event to get control of Texas if it got to that point?
Do I think they have it in them to orchestrate a false flag in order to,
because
further their
yes.
agenda? Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know me better than
Yes.
that.
No, I know where you. Yes, asking that question, it was pointed. But so I mean, but what's going on in Texas? It's a powder keg right now.
Yes.
I mean, they've talked about this city of undocumented 70,000 strong, just west of Dallas.
Okay.
And mostly run by the cartels.
Oh.
And so
I hadn't heard of that one.
Yeah.
What are they doing there?
Just
Being there? Just being in the
there.
United States illegally?
Yes.
So what I would say, like, if Texas, like the Supreme Court says you can't do that, Texas says go pound sand. The federals say you better, or else Texas still says go pound sand. The federal government says we're cutting off these funds, and they're like, it doesn't matter, we're pretty self-sustaining here. Go pound sand. How many times does Texas say go pound sand before the federal government? Because they can't just let this happen. I mean,
no.
If it was someplace like Chad in Oregon, they just let it go on and be lawless, and who cares? It's like, oh, it's just a freaking summer of fun and whatever, and they're like, screw you, we're kicking the cops out of this neighborhood. I mean, that's one city versus one state, but they can't have that.
Yeah.
They can't have this state just defying them.
Yeah.
Just blatantly defying them. They can't allow it to go on for too long, I want to think.
I would think not, because then if the federal government has no teeth enforcing this stuff, then what's going to stop other states from being like, fuck you, what are you going to do?
I would like to know how much like federal help assistance Texas gets, because like New York relies heavily on federal assistance. California relies heavily. Like, I would like to know how much Texas is actually reliant on the federal government, because obviously if they just cut off certain funding, there are certain things they could cut off, like interstate trade to the area. I mean, they could technically just blockade the state without like sending in troops, but that still is going to
again, Texas major oil fields,
right?
So I mean, they would have to get control of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. So it just makes me wonder how long Texas plays this power game before the feds are like, we got to do something here.
So this came out a couple weeks ago, actually. So it says EPA confirms investigation of huge illegal immigrant city in Texas.
Okay.
Existential trouble continues to mount for the developers of Colony Ridge, who a dozen years ago spawned what has become perhaps the largest illegal immigrant colony in America, just northeast of Houston. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has confirmed it is actively investigating suspected environmental crimes in a 60-square-mile Colony Ridge community of at least 50,000, mostly illegal immigrants. The confirmation...
50,000?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. It says it's noteworthy that these federal activities are becoming public just weeks after Governor Abbott wrapped up a special legislative sessions on Colony Ridge with the 40 million state police surge, addressing only its well-known general lawlessness, but not anything addressing these other locally well-reported issues. So, yeah.
So they're just chilling out there. What are they waiting for?
Yeah, it's apparently
waiting for the feds to activate them?
There's no law there.
Waiting for the CIA to activate them?
Yeah. So apparently the colony has dumped tens of thousands of gallons of fecal contaminated water into the local streams that flow into Houston, the primary source of Houston's drinking water.
That's gross.
Yeah.
That's a little bit gross.
Yeah.
So let's get into Governor Abbott's statement that came out. This came out on the 24th.
The letter that sounds like the Declaration of Independence.
Yes. I'm going to read this. This, like I said, this is Governor Abbott's official statement, January 24th of this year. It's got his Texas governor's seal on it, so you know it's official.
It is official.
The federal government has broken the compact between the United States and the states. I read that and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
This is some serious language going on here.
Yeah.
This sounds familiar, and we'll get
Right.
into why it sounds familiar. The executive branch of the United States has a constitutional duty to enforce federal laws protecting states, including immigration laws on the books right now. President Biden has refused to enforce those laws and has even violated them. The result, that he has smashed records for illegal immigration. Now, I feel like there is more official ways.
I know. I was a little disappointed in that
in a
terminology
with your governor's seal on it.
Yeah.
Then
smashed
records
yes.
of illegal immigration.
I was a little disappointed in that.
I read that. I was like, this sounds like somebody like Trump posting on Twitter or something like that. Not
bigly smashed.
Despite having been put on notice in a series of letters, I feel like he should have had a speechwriter. He probably did. This is Texas. We're talking about Texas here.
Smash is probably a normal term in Texas.
Well, it's probably, they had to look. They were digging deep for some of these. Sorry if you're from Texas. We got a bash on Texas. Queers and steers. Despite having been put on notice in a series of letters, one of which I delivered to him by hand, President Biden has ignored Texas's demand that he perform his constitutional duties. President Biden has violated his oath to faithfully execute immigration laws enacted by Congress. Instead of prosecuting immigrants for the federal crime of illegal entry, President Biden has sent his lawyers into federal courts to sue Texas for taking action to secure the border. President Biden has instructed his agencies to ignore federal statutes that mandate the detention of illegal immigrants. The effect is to illegally allow their en masse parole into the United States. By wasting taxpayer dollars to tear open Texas' border security infrastructure, President Biden has enticed illegal immigrants away from the 28 legal entry points along the state's southern border, bridges where nobody drowns, and into dangerous water of the Rio Grande. Under President Biden's lawless border policies, more than 6 million illegal immigrants have crossed our southern border in the last 3 years. This is more than the population of 33 different states in this country, one probably being Iowa.
Right.
One definitely being Iowa. This illegal refusal to protect the states has inflicted unprecedented harm on the people all across the United States. James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and the other visionaries who wrote the U.S. Constitution first saw that the states should not be left to the mercy of lawless president who does nothing to stop external threats like cartels smuggling millions of illegal immigrants across the border. That is why the framers included both Article 4, which promises that the federal government shall protect each state against invasion, and Article 1, Paragraph 10, Clause 3, which acknowledges the state's sovereign interest in protecting their borders. Arizona versus United States, blah, 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 2012. The failure of Biden's administration to fulfill the duties imposed in Article 4, Paragraph 4 has triggered Article 1, Paragraph 10, Clause 3, which reserves to this state the right of self-defense. For these reasons, I have already declared an invasion under Article 1, Paragraph 10, Clause 3 to invoke Texas's constitutional authority to defend and protect itself. The authority is the supreme law of the land and supersedes any federal statutes to the contrary. The Texas National Guard, the Texas Department of Public Safety, and other Texas personnel are acting on that authority as well as state law to secure the Texas border. What do you think of that statement? Very strong language.
Yeah.
Very strong use of Article 1, Paragraph 10, Clause 3. He says it 3 different times.
Yeah.
Now, that clause does say that they have state sovereign interest in protecting their own borders.
Mm-hmm.
Right to defend themselves against invasion, whatever.
Yeah.
Does that fly? Does just quoting that fly in the Supreme Court of the land?
I guess it depends on what the definition of invasion is.
It's true. Now he has declared an invasion.
Right.
Now the question, I guess, is: does he have the authority to declare an invasion?
I would assume so.
I would assume so, but there are legal scholars like he doesn't have the authority to declare such a thing. That's like a federal. It's like, so we have the right to defend ourselves against invasion, but we don't have the right to say we are being invaded right now.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I don't know. Obviously, there's going to be a federal loophole around every statement in the Constitution because that's what they do.
That's what they do. Yeah.
Now, like I said, this first quote, this first line right here: the federal government has broken the compact between the U.S. and the United States, or United States and the states. That there scared me more than anything else in here, because as soon as I read that, my mind initially was like, did they just secede?
Right. Yeah, that was my first thought.
Because it's like they broke the contract.
Mhm.
Anytime somebody's like, you broke the contract, what does that usually follow with?
Yeah, I'm done. I'm out.
We're breaking the contract.
Yeah.
We're not bound by this contract or compact anymore.
Yeah.
That's usually like, if I was to go in, if you were like under a contract with your boss and you were like, you walked in, you're like, you broke your contract with me. What is usually going to follow that is, I am not bound by whatever I signed to.
Yeah.
Like if you signed a contract, I don't know, for your house. Like say you signed a contract, like somebody's gonna pay you $275,000. You're going to, by contract, sell them your house. They don't buy they don't pay the $275. You go in, you're like, you didn't fulfill your side of the contract. Usually that doesn't mean, but you can still stay in the house. Usually that means, I don't owe you this house anymore unless you fulfill. Now, this isn't him saying we're cutting ties, but to me, it sounds like if you don't fulfill your side of the contract, we are not going to fulfill our side of the contract.
I would, yes, that's what my
so
thoughts were.
It sounds like, in the very least, it's leading up to, if this doesn't change, we have every right to break our side of this compact. Yeah. Now I feel like he starts out like, we're about to secede, guys, but then the further down, it's just like, we're going to defend our borders.
Right.
It's just like,
yeah,
you should have held on as strong as you did.
Right.
Now, the reason why this scares me so much is because we're like pretty much verbatim in a lot of the states' declarations of secession back during the Civil War. Like here is, I think this one is Mississippi. It says right here, it has nullified the fugitive slave law in almost every free state in the Union and has utterly broken the compact which our fathers pledged their faith to maintain. Then there's Mississippi goes on to say, it has broken every compact into which it has entered for our security. And then I think it was South Carolina. This one's from South Carolina's. It says, thus the constituted compact has been deliberately broken and disregarded by the non-slave holding states, and the consequences follow that South Carolina is released from their obligation. Yeah. There's what I was talking about. The if then statement.
Right.
If you break the contract, then we are not held to our obligations of the contract.
Right.
Now, this goes back to, this is the problem with this kind of statement that Abbott has, though, is he is basing this on the compact theory that the Constitution is a compact. Like, if you hold up your end of the bargain, we hold up ours. But the Supreme Court has pretty much since the Civil War said, this isn't a compact.
Right.
This isn't like some legal contract between us. This is the law, and you guys are just part of us. The Constitution, it's not, if we don't uphold our end, you don't have to be part of it. We're supposed to uphold our end, but you're just still part of it, regardless of if we do or not.
Right. Yeah.
Or if you think you do or not. They pretty much state that this was kind of a contract. This was because compact theory says that the states created this compact with the federal government, and they have the right to dissolve their end of it. But what the Supreme Court now says is that, no, this was the people, collectively the people, not the states. The people are part of this. So you are just part of this because the people said so. And so our word supersedes your word, and fuck you if you want to secede or not. You can't legally secede.
Right.
We're going to get into more secession stuff. I want to talk about, like, can they, should they,
would they
secede. I want to talk about the truck convoy. We got to get into some of that stuff. But we do got to get into break here real quick. We're well overdue for a break time. So we're going to come back. We're going to keep talking about this Texas showdown. What are your thoughts so far? What do you think? What do you think of Abbott's statement there first?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he's coming off strong, and then he's kind of pulling back a little bit, but at the same time saying, like, look, if this continues, if you continue to block our efforts to defend ourselves from this invasion, then there's going to be bigger consequences.
Yeah, it's our legal right to.
Right. You're not upholding your end. We're not going to uphold our end.
Right. So,
and he's got 25 other states supporting him in this.
And I want to talk about that too.
Yeah.
Does he have 25 states supporting him? Like, if you do this, I'm in with you? Or is it, you got this,
I don't know about 25, but at least 10 states have sent their National Guards down.
Oh, they have. They actually, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen if they had or not. I saw that Trump said, send your National Guard down to Texas. And I was wondering if all the states were like, yeah, we got your back, but whoa.
Yeah, do we?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Now that's getting a little over that.
Yeah.
That's crossing the line.
Yeah.
We'll talk more when we come back from break. We're going to take 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll come back and talk about the Texas Showdown shit show that we got going on right now. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Take a moment and remember the feeling. When they called you not essential. When they dictated what you could do, where you could go, how you could breathe. It's disgusting, isn't it? And they're trying to do it again. We've seen what happens when the people lose control. When politicians and unelected bureaucrats make the big decisions on our behalf, whether we like them or not. When the choices are taken away from us one by one. We've seen what happens when they strip away medical freedom. When they trample on informed consent. When they dismiss our cries of justice. They laughed at us. They called us names.
Rest in peace, Wheezy.
Them, their freedom. I want my freedom to live.
And they shamed us for not going along with their every demand. Enough already. It's time to hold these tyrants accountable. In the midst of them trying to do it again, this wasn't a public health measure. This was an act of war against a peaceful people. But a reckoning is coming, and we're leading the charge. This campaign is for all of us. I'm asking you to join this movement that's for every single person who felt the crushing weight of mandates, the sting of being called unessential, the pain of having your liberties stripped away. I'm Joshua Smith, and I'm running because you are essential, and because our freedoms are non-negotiable. Not last time, not this time, not ever again.
I recommend take the vaccines. I did it. It's good.
We faced the challenges. We felt the pain, but we're not defeated. Together, we have the power to create a brighter future, one where liberty thrives and tyranny dies. I endorse prosecuting the COVID tyrants and using Guantanamo Bay to lock them away for their crimes against humanity. In the face of all of this happening again, where they think we're stupid enough to fall for it, in 2024, a vote for me is a vote for vengeance. Go to joshuasmith2024.com to find out how you can help.
We're back. Talking about the Texas Showdown. It's kind of like a lackluster showdown. It's like COVID. We were expecting like zombie virus.
Exactly. Well, again, it's
or hoping for zombie virus.
You know, Biden gave this 24-hour notice, so I was expecting some big shit to go down on Saturday, and I kept checking the headlines and looking at all the different news sources, and nothing ever happened.
Nothing
and I'm like,
ever happened.
Well, shit.
So
that's a letdown.
It's always a letdown, and I feel like we're going to be let down at the end of the day with this. It's like the media is going to cover it as like the next big like neoconservative or what do they call it? The Christian nationalist, whatever event. Like they're making this out to be more of a crisis than what's going on at the border.
Right. Yeah.
Like I feel like this whole trucker convoy is probably going to get more headline than what's going on at the border. It's like, this is dangerous. Yeah. It's dangerous. These dangerous nationalists.
And that's how Canada tried to portray them.
Right.
And they're all anti-Semitic.
Oh yeah, obviously they're anti-Semitic. They're They're racist. They're white nationalists. They're Trump supporters. Obviously.
Right. Oh, obviously.
But
did you see that the Canadian Supreme Court had come out and said that Trudeau was illegal in his actions to stop the convoy?
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't. Who said that?
It was the Canadian Supreme Court.
I didn't see that. When did that come out?
It was a couple weeks ago.
Really? Yeah. So if it was illegal for him to do so, then he should go to jail, right? Because it's illegal.
Right. I think he was just like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
I didn't realize this was unconstitutional. Yeah. So this truck convoy.
Yes.
I think it's going on now.
It is, yes.
I'd seen 3 days ago articles about it. It's labeled as a peaceful gathering. They're not going to impede with law enforcement. They're not going to impede with border control. They're just going to go peacefully to be there. And it's put on by some organization. I got to find the article.
Truckers for Freedom.
Is that what it's called?
No, I don't know.
It probably is.
It's probably similar. Because the farmers are heading that way too.
Right. Trucker convoy similar to the one that blocked the streets in protest of COVID-19 mandates in Canada is headed to Texas border along Mexico, vowing support for Governor Greg Abbott and his defiance of a Supreme Court decision. The group of truckers and bikers called the Take Our Borders Back Convoy
That's really original.
Are organizing on Telegram with a plan to peacefully gather and protest. Now, if you got an invite on Telegram from a peaceful protest, and it's like, we're going to go peacefully gather, would you be a little suspicious of it?
Yeah,
in 2024, would you be a little suspicious of it?
Definitely, yes. Yeah.
Like, any of these organized things anymore, you gotta suspect that it's full. If it's not infiltrated, it's just fully orchestrated by the feds at this point. Like, you can't just get an invite or something on Telegram or social media of any sorts. It's just like, hey guys, we're super right wing and we're going to go protest and take back our country. Are you in? It's going to be a peaceful protest. Like, they're probably switching their tactics because we've outed them from, dude, we're gonna go kidnap the governor. You guys in to kidnap the governor? This is Telegram. It's all secret. Nobody knows what's going on here. It's legit since it's on Telegram, but we're going to kidnap the governor. And now it's like, they're not going to buy that a second time, are they? No, but what if we say that it's a peaceful organization instead and get all these people in, and then we can stir up shit.
While we're there, right?
I mean, they're all about, it's a peaceful protest. They said it so many times about the J6 thing that we can make them believe this is a peaceful protest, and then we can get them all. What's the dude from J6? What's the guy's name? The Fed, the clear, obvious Fed.
Oh yeah, I don't remember.
Jeez, I can't think of his name.
The one that just disappeared.
Yeah. Well, the guy that was like, oh, Trump's going to be speaking at the Capitol next. You guys should all go up that way.
Let's go raid it.
Yeah, what was that? Dude, we just talked about him.
I know we did.
J6 Fed guy. That's what I'm going to Google. J6 Fed guy. I'll probably get on a list for just that. Ray Epps. Ray Epps will be there Ray Epps will be like, hey, there's just peaceful protests
He'll be
going
wearing
down.
a cowboy hat and a big belt buckle.
Yeah, it's peaceful protests going down
at the border.
down at the border. You guys should all go peacefully protest, and we need to take back our country.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the take back. What do they
Our
call it?
borders.
Take back we're going to take back our borders.
Yeah.
We're gonna go in and take back our borders, and we all need to go down there and fight and take back our borders peacefully, though. Peacefully. The group has been calling on retired law enforcement, it's a Fed, veterans, elected officials, and business owners to meet in Eagle Pass, protesting immigrants that have been entering the country at the Texas border, calling them criminals and known terrorists. Members of the group spoke to Vice in an article published on January 26, saying the group has been using Christian nationalist rhetoric to gather support. Why do they got to throw Christian on there? It's just nationalist rhetoric.
And what does that even mean?
Well, no, I guess it was Christian nationalist rhetoric because they say, where did the rest of the article go? Organizer Kim Yeater started gathering supporters of the group last month, saying that God's army is rising up.
Okay, yeah, that sounds
that's pretty Christian now. I see where they're coming from now. Now, I hate when they just throw that out there when people use like the Great Replacement theory and stuff like that. They're like, this is Christian nationalist. It's like, what the fuck does this have to do with Christian anything? Don't just lump Christian and nationalist together.
Yeah. But to be fair, she didn't clarify which God, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. We are besieged on all sides.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely
by dark forces of evil.
She keeps just digging that hole.
No, this is another unnamed organizer. We're besieged on all sides by dark forces of evil.
Who even says that?
Especially when you're on the Mexican border. Now, when you say dark forces, are you meaning dark forces? The brown forces of evil. Oh, geez. The convoy's exposure has ramped up recently after Abbott vowed last week to continue using the Texas National Guard, placing razor wire along the Texas border to Mexico at Eagle Pass, despite the Supreme Court ruling that the federally controlled Border Patrol can cut the razor wire. Now, okay, so is he defying the Supreme Court? If this says the Supreme Court ruled that Border Patrol can cut the razor wire, in this at least, I haven't read their Supreme Court ruling, but in this at least, it doesn't say he can't put more razor wire up.
That's true. That's true.
So is he, in fact, I mean, and it doesn't say they can't, like, say you can't come in this area. It just says they can cut the razor wire. If you can get in, you can cut a razor wire. We're not defying the Supreme Court. If you can get around this razor wire, you can cut that razor.
Let me see if I can find the ruling.
It goes on to say Texas governor invokes invasion clause. We already read that. We don't need to go over that much more. I did want to. So how much Fed do you think's involved in this?
I would say probably about 70%.
Says Abbott said he is defending what he called Texas' right to self-defense, saying Biden has violated his oath, allowing immigrants to enter the country. On January 25th, former President Donald Trump called on other governors to send in the National Guard troops to the Texas border. Since then, far-right political commentators and people on social media have alluded to a civil war. Do you think, at what point does the left come out and say, because Donald Trump called on other governors to send the National Guard, at what point do the left come out and say that he is inciting a civil war based on that statement?
I would say hugely.
Like, how long before they're like, Donald Trump incited a civil war because he said send in your National Guard troops to the border?
History books will look at him as Andrew Johnson.
Obviously. That's all this really says about the trucker convoy, but a big part of me wants to go down there just to see what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
I know it's all infiltrated by feds.
Oh, you know it is.
I know.
Truckers down there. I
know it's a giant trap.
Yes. And even even the besieged by dark forces, I'm like, that's a Fed.
Yes. God's army.
Yeah.
We are assigned by God to defend against the dark forces of evil. and take back our borders. Yeah, I mean, it just reeks of Fed.
If I heard that, I would be like, okay, we're turning around.
Yes. Now, the part of me wants to go down there, like a huge part of me does. I don't want to protest the border. Yeah. I don't even know where I sit on this issue.
Right.
I want to watch.
Yeah.
I want to see how this thing plays out.
Yeah.
Like I'm the guy that's like the dog with the coffee that's like, this is fine. Like,
yeah,
like
right. As it all burns around you.
As it burns around. I mean, I've even got my coffee here. But I feel like we're not doing our own due diligence by not going down there and joining the fun. I feel like we should have been at January 6th. Not saying I wanted to storm the Capitol.
No.
So feds, I know if you're listening, I'm not saying I should have stormed the
We just wanted to watch.
Like, I feel like by not being there, we weren't doing our jobs.
I would agree with
that. I mean, can you imagine if CNN was just like, oh shit, we missed that one.
Yeah.
And they just didn't arrive on scene.
You know, they got the tip. You're like, you're not going to want to miss this.
Yeah. So
it's going to be good.
I feel like we failed majorly by not being there for J6. And I feel like we're failing by not being there if shit goes down in Texas. It's like, but how many Fed ops can we follow around though?
Well, I know they got,
I mean,
they're
going to start getting suspicious if we're following all the Fed ops
I know,
around.
right?
It's like, who are these guys? They're not doing anything.
We'd have to get a t-shirt that says not a Fed.
They're drinking beer and just, I mean, they're just laughing about everything. They're finding their shit hilarious. Are they one of us?
Yeah. Do they know?
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. So somebody would claim that we were feds because we keep showing up at all the Fed ops. We're here just to.
We'd have, like I said, we just show up with like aviator sunglasses, a mustache, and a shirt that says "not a Fed."
It's like we'd just be standing there asking everybody that goes by. So, are you a Fed or one of the idiots that fell for it?
Yeah.
Your comment, please.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes. I mean, there's only two groups.
Yeah. Right.
Two kinds of people there. It's the feds.
Yeah.
Or the idiots that fell for the op again. Fell for the op.
Like you said, anything that would pop up, you're like, hey guys, let's go meet up and do this. You just gotta. Yeah, it's a red flag.
It's like you can't even network with like-minded people anymore, especially post January 6th, post Gretchen Whitmer, like the Brandon Caserta shit. Like you can't even like you hear somebody that's like, we should all network. We should all can we?
It's like number one. Like I said, when I was at the gym, there was a guy. And he's like, "Oh man, I wish I could just find a group I could like get in with and like-minded people."
You're
and
a
I'm
fucking
just
Fed, dude. Never coming to this gym again.
Right? Exactly.
It's like, who are you? Yeah, I mean, it's just gotten to that point, and it's sad that it's gotten to that point because militias will never, like true militias, will never form ever again because. They're all just infiltrated by feds.
There was a law that just was passed about militias. Oh gosh.
What state was it that was like, we're just claiming that everybody in our state's a member of the militia so they can all carry guns legally? Yeah. I can't remember which state that was.
I don't know.
Anyway, man, you're not doing a very good job. You're like, oh, I heard this thing this weekend.
I know.
There's just nothing there. You're like, but I forget what it was about. Now,
here it is. Okay. All right. Wait, I don't want to download. Okay. So this bill, amend Title 18, United States Code to prohibit unauthorized private paramilitary activity and for other purposes.
Define private paramilitary activity, though.
It says, let's see here. Okay. It says, in this chapter, ammunition, that's definitions, National Guard. Oh, come on. Okay. It shall be unlawful to knowingly, in a circumstance described in subsection B, while acting as part of on behalf of a private paramilitary organization armed with firearm, explosive, or incendiary device or other dangerous weapons, to publicly patrol, drill, or engage in techniques capable of causing bodily harm or death, interfere with, interrupt, or attempt to interfere with or interrupt government operations or a government proceeding, interfere with or intimidate another person in that person's exercise of any right under the Constitution of the United States, or assume the functions of a law enforcement officer, peace officer, or federal official, whether or not acting under color of law and thereby asset authority or purport to assert authority over another person without the consent of that person, or trained to engage in any activity described in the following the before mentioned paragraphs.
Trained to.
So my guess is that they want to stop people from basically taking on patrolling the border.
Or I feel like that. So is that a federal law that was passed?
That's federal, yeah.
I feel like that can also be applied to like the Proud Boy types that like come in their tactical gear and their show up like as counter protests and tactical gear in their ARs, because it says like intimidating, like for the purpose of intimidating against like a lawfully protected blah blah blah, and that you could say is intimidating. Like another, if you show up with your tac gear and your ARs and you're in a group, you could say, hey, this is a paramilitary group just here to intimidate the protesters that are here. So I mean, that could be applied to a lot of situations.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So
like I was saying, Donald Trump called on all the other governors to send their troops, their National Guards or whatever, and and you get like the Tucker Carlsons of the world that are like, oh, this is going to be a civil war and blah blah blah, and like there's some shit out there that could really spark civil war. And the fact that AI exists in the world makes it really scary. Did you hear this supposed hot mic Joe Biden hot mic incident?
I hadn't heard that.
Let's listen to this. Supposedly, this is Joe Biden talking, and tell me if this is real, like what the implications here would be. See if it'll actually play. Yeah, of course, it's going to open something else. Give me a second.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, to me, him.
All right, hang on. Surge of military. All right, let me start this over and turn it up so you can actually hear it. All right, listen to this. This is supposedly Joe Biden. It's kind of believable, but kind of not believable. It sounds a lot like him in the very least.
Okay. Going to make sure those cowboys don't stop the surge of military-aged men from entering. If we have to send F-15s to Texas here and wage war against Texas, then so be it. Going to make sure those cowboys don't stop the surge of military-aged men from entering. If we have to send F-15s to Texas here and wage war against Texas, then so be it.
Now he said, it sounds a lot like Joe Biden. I'll say that much. He says, we're going to make sure those cowboys in Texas don't stop these military-aged men from entering. If we have to send F-15s down there against Texas, then so be it.
Against Texas, so be it.
Now, the first thing is this. He says military-aged men.
Why would he say that?
Well, that's like a very right-wing stance on what's going on at the border. It's like they're sending in all these military-aged men.
Right.
It's
very
just
specific.
It's very odd statement to make. At first, I was like, maybe he's talking about impeding like the federal military or something like that. But then why would he say military-aged men? The second point is that it sounds like first of all, it's way too clear for just a hot mic situation.
And Joe Biden.
Yeah, for a hot mic Joe Biden. It's way too coherent.
Yes.
Now it sounds like press conference Joe Biden on a good day.
Right.
It's not even as good as normal press conference Joe Biden.
Yeah.
It sounds like press conference Joe Biden when he's at his best.
Yes.
Coherence. Because it sounds like he's reading from a script. It sounds very kind of read out. And if this was a hot mic situation, he wouldn't be up like reading from, I mean, maybe he's reading from teleprompter for all of his interactions with anybody. At this point, maybe they only allow him to read from, they're like, he's walking and he's just got like a teleprompter, like a tablet that he's only allowed to say. But then why would that be on the teleprompter?
Right, yeah, exactly.
It's like,
unless someone hacked it and they're like, let's see if he'll say anything.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds like speech Joe Biden, not bumbling like off the cuff.
Right.
It doesn't sound like an off the cuff statement.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like Snopes has come out and said that this is false, which makes me think it might be real. But it's not, I could see this being either somebody that's got a really good Joe Biden impersonation, but most likely it's possibly AI generated, which is very scary.
It is scary
that it could be that realistic sounding.
Yeah.
Now, again, just like the fluctuation in his voice, doesn't sound to me like this is Joe Biden just hot mic. I forgot to turn the mic off,
right?
Or somebody caught this on camera, and I just am talking to General Milley or whoever. General Milley,
he left. He retired.
He's gone. He's gone.
Yeah,
okay,
he's gone.
good.
Thank God.
There might be a chance for us then. But yeah, it sounds made up.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Now, if this were real,
yes.
How does this play out? Like, say there is, like, Joe Biden was just like, we're gonna fucking send in the F-15s.
Yeah, fuck Texas.
I could see Trump saying something like that on a hot mic.
Yeah,
about like Chad or something. But say Donald Trump said that, and he's like, we'll send in F-15s if we have to.
Yeah, right.
What do you think happens?
I mean, you're talking about a president willing to wage war on American soil,
right,
to citizens,
right?
I mean, that's a big deal.
Do you think if Joe Biden actually said this and Texas found out, do you think that would lead to a greater chance of possible altercation?
I think it'd be a wait and see type thing.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody's going to want to make the first move on that.
Now, how dangerous is it that this technology sits out there? Like,
extremely.
Like, say there's an AI video of Joe Biden saying, we're going to bomb the shit out of North Korea.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, Greg Abbott might not be crazy enough to be like, that's not real.
Right.
Or to say, that's real, we're going to wage war now. But Kim Jong-un, on the other hand, is crazy enough to shoot somebody, or shoot some kind of missile or something, or do something stupid. Like, Kim Jong-un is that crazy that even if they're like, well, I know this is AI, but the fact that the United States allowed this to happen, that's enough for me to nuke them.
Right.
I mean, just it's a whole nother rabbit trail.
That's the ironic thing is that, yeah, with this technology, you know, if the WEF or whatever wanted to create some kind of global conflict,
right,
it would be easy enough to push buttons.
Right.
But they don't have to. Look how many conflicts we're involved in now.
Derek's here.
Derek, what's up, man?
Derek said he didn't get a notification. What are we talking about? Derek, we're talking about Texas. The great state of Texas and the showdown that's going on in Texas again. Derek also asked, doesn't Texas have their own F-16s or F-22s?
Every state does, actually.
Now, is it F-16 or because in this video they say F-15, which I thought was...
I think they are the F-15s now.
Who knows? Yeah. Who knows? But yeah, I feel like Texas probably has their own F-16.
I think every state has their own Air Force National Guard.
Sure, but do they have as many of them as...
Probably not.
As
most likely not.
Probably not. I guess the big question now, because like we said in the first half, you got Democrats, you got some... I don't know if Republicans have... I can't imagine any Republicans have been brave enough to say it, but definitely Democrats have said, Joe Biden needs to federalize the National Guard. Then he can just say, stop doing what you're doing and just let us do our job.
Right. Yeah.
Should he do that? Can he do that? Now, there's...
Abbott had come out and said that they're prepared for the eventuality of Biden nationalizing the Texas National Guard.
I want to know what that means.
Well, he said that they have enough law enforcement and they have National Guards of 10 other states that are down there providing services in case Biden nationalizes it.
So then what if he nationalizes those state National Guards?
Yeah, again, I think that would be a huge issue.
Yeah, I feel like those are big threatening words that he's saying. This won't zoom in how I want it. It's either too far out for my old eyes to read or too far in for me to see.
Correct me if I'm wrong, the National Guard of the state serves at the leisure of the governor.
Yes,
right?
unless under Article 4 or 5 or something. But then most of the time, yes. But then under Article 10, the president can nationalize or federalize the National Guard if needed. We're going to read about that and see exactly when he can use that power. Should he use that power? We're going to find out. It says the debate on whether President Joe Biden, this is from MSN.com, the debate on whether President Joe Biden should seize control of the Texas National Guard in order to force it to comply with a recent Supreme Court ruling is continuing to rage between Democrats and Republicans. Texas Representative Joaquin Castro and former Congressman and 2020 presidential hopeful Beto O'Rourke, both Democrats, are among those who are arguing or who are urging Biden to federalize the state's National Guard to allow Border Patrol agents to remove razor wire put up along the U.S.-Mexico border by Texas law enforcement in order to prevent illegal immigration. In a 5-4 ruling, January 22nd, Supreme Court sided with the Biden administration, which said the wire erected in Eagle Pass was put up illegally and prevented Border Patrol from trying to detain people who were attempting to cross the border via the Rio Grande. Despite the ruling, Texas Governor Greg Abbott argued that Biden is failing his duties as president by not controlling the record levels of illegal crossings at the southern border during his time in office. Abbott has also declared that Texas is currently under an invasion and invoked the state's constitutional right to defend and protect itself. We talked about all that shit already. Mm-hmm. The authority is the supreme law of the land and supersedes any federal statutes to the contrary. The Texas National Guard, the Texas Department of Public Safety, and other Texas personnel are acting on that authority as well as state law to secure the Texas border, says Abbott. As a result, Abbott is allowing Texas National Guard to continue to install the razor wire along the border. He's refusing to allow Border Patrol agents to access Shelby Park, a riverfront park in Eagle Pass that migrants are using to enter the U.S. illegally in order to remove wires. Can Joe Biden take over the Texas National Guard? Derek says maybe Texas could borrow some equipment from Ukraine. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's true.
I'm pretty sure those are hot on the black market right now.
Yeah, they probably got to pay a pretty penny to get it back. Biden is within his power to federalize the Texas National Guard in accordance with Title 10 of the U.S. Code, which would mean the state's troops would be under direct orders of the president. In 1957, President Dwight Eisenhower placed the Arkansas National Guard under federal authority and ordered them to protect 9 black students who enrolled at Central High School in Little Rock. The move arrived after state's governor Orville Faubus previously called the troops to prevent black students' entry into the all-white school, despite Supreme Court ruling that declared segregation in public schools unconstitutional. Currently, Texas National Guard troops are operating under Title 32, which means they fall under the command of the Texas governor as their commander-in-chief. Abbott is using the Texas Guard to defy a Supreme Court ruling. When Governor Faubus did in 1957, Eisenhower federalized the Arkansas Guard to ensure compliance with the law, O'Rourke posted on X. Biden must follow this example of bold, decisive leadership to end this crisis before it gets worse. So this is the crisis, but the border's not a crisis.
Right.
We'll never say the border's a crisis.
No.
But putting up razor wire is certainly a crisis.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Title 10 can only supersede. So this says, however, questions have been raised as to whether Biden can federalize the Texas National Guard in these current circumstances, with some suggesting the president doesn't have legal justification to do so. Now, this is where it gets interesting, and this is why I kind of hope he does it. Title 10 can only supersede Title 32 in a national emergency. So if he was to say, I'm invoking Title 10 and federalizing the National Guard, now he has to declare the border
an emergency,
a federal emergency, calling it now a federal crisis. Derek says by nationalizing the Guard to assist the federal government in assisting people violate federal law can't be a valid order. I wouldn't think so, but we don't care about if it's a valid order or not. It's just an order. So what happens if he does take over the Texas National Guard? Presumably, a move to federalize the National Guard would mean the Border Patrol would quickly move in and remove the razor wire, which has been the focus of the arguments in the Lone Star State. Others have suggested such a move could have broader implications for Biden, as well as setting up possible further legal challenges and issues. If the Texas National Guard are federalized under Title 10 for the sole purpose of pulling them off the border and out of the chain of command of the commander-in-chief of Texas, military after says, in order to pull them out of the chain of command of the commander-in-chief of the Texas military after Governor Abbott invoked constitutional authority to defend the border, The founders would have envisioned this. The founders, now we're talking about the founders here, would
The
have
OG.
envisioned this as a crime and misdemeanor and impeachable offense. So he does have the right in a federal emergency, a national emergency, to pull him off. But to do so just to say, we don't like what the governor's doing, so we're going to federalize the National Guard just to take you out of his control.
Right.
The founders, according to this constitutional law scholar guy, expert guy, said they would have viewed this as an impeachable offense. Now, I don't feel much of the federal government gives two shits what the founders really agreed with at this point. But still, I would say, yeah, you're probably right. If you're just like, I don't like what they're doing, what this governor's doing. Like, say, even Donald, can you imagine if Donald Trump didn't like what was going on in, say, Michigan?
Yeah.
Didn't like the COVID restrictions. Just like, I don't like how you guys are handling COVID. So in order to cut off your balls, I'm just nationalizing the national, federalizing the National Guard. Can you imagine if he would have done that?
Yeah.
Just,
if you would have done that in Oregon for Chad,
or
I mean, they would have
just to say, I don't like you as a governor, which I could see Trump saying.
Oh yeah,
I'm going to federalize the National Guard.
Yeah,
impeached on the fucking spot. I guarantee it.
Oh, absolutely.
And I mean, yes, they are defying orders, but to just be like, well, to keep you from defying orders, we're going to federalize the National Guard just so we can pull them out of the way.
Right. Yeah.
It's not that much different, I don't think.
No, it's not.
Says Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton also suggested that the Democrats calling for Biden to federalize the National Guard don't understand the law, and the president must first declare a national emergency.
Right.
That goes to the whole question. Why is he declaring an emergency? Obviously, we have one, right? And now he's admitting it. I think that becomes a political issue for him. It becomes a real problem for him politically. So now he has to declare the border a federal emergency, a national emergency, in order to federalize the National Guard.
Right.
And in doing so, he would have to say, I'm federalizing the National Guard to patrol the border. So basically go do what Greg Abbott was already telling them to do. He can't be like, oh, the border is a national emergency, so I'm going to federalize them and then pull them away, which is what they want him to do.
Yeah, right.
They have to declare it a federal emergency.
Which is what he doesn't want to do.
And then say, well, you guys need to do something about this national emergency, which means they need to defend the fucking border.
Right, exactly.
Which would be a really big political problem for Joe Biden.
Yes. Yeah.
Says, what can Abbott do in response? Beyond continuing to defy the administration and ordering law enforcement to still erect razor wire, he has also indicated he is willing to appeal any decision from the president to the Supreme Court. Professor Peter Shane, a law lecturer at New York University and constitutional law expert, dismissed Abbott's suggestion that he can have supreme authority in Texas after declaring that the state is under invasion from people crossing the border illegally. This is nonsense. Governors have no power to declare anything under the U.S. Constitution, nor does the Constitution give states any legal power to countermand the exercise of federal authority, he told Newsweek. So Abbott saying, we're under invasion. I'm declaring an invasion, so now I have the authority to defend, based on what the Article 4 of paragraph 10 Clause 3, whatever he quoted.
Yeah.
So this constitutional expert, which there's so many of them,
there is.
It's like, that's bullshit. That's not a thing. You can't do that. Let's see. Derek says you can't run for re-election if he's dead. I mean, true. So I don't know. What do you think of?
I mean, yeah, I would agree with you. I don't think he would do that. I think it would be political suicide
to federalize the National Guard.
Yeah. To have to then come back and say, okay, yeah, we have an emergency down there. So after, I mean, his handlers quickly correct it when he's accidentally said crisis, right? They were like, no, he misspoke. There's no crisis down there.
Now somebody on one side says he can't do it unless it's a national emergency, but when Eisenhower did it to allow kids to go to school, was that a national emergency?
No, it wasn't.
So they could still use that same precedent.
Yeah.
To say, hey, we did it for this case because the governor was defying us. So pretty much we federalized the National Guard to say, get the fuck out of the way, so we can do what we intend to do.
Yeah.
I feel
that's kind of that was a watershed moment in the whole civil rights thing, So I mean, if Biden tried to use that now and be like, hey, we're doing this because we think this is a civil rights thing, I mean, that would be spinning it in a whole different direction.
Right. So I don't know exactly how much authority Article 10 or whatever says.
Mm-hmm.
But if it is, in fact, you have to declare a state of emergency in order to do so. I mean, there's got to be some restriction there, because otherwise, like I said,
right.
What's stopping?
Right.
I mean, if they want to start down that road where the president can federalize the National Guard of a state that's defying them, just wait for 9-10 months from now or next year, if Donald Trump's president again, you damn guarantee that he's gonna be like, you guys did it, so I'm gonna do it here, and I'm just gonna do it just to say fuck you.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they have to be thinking ahead. Like, if we do this, how is Donald Trump gonna abuse this down the road?
This is gonna set precedent for the guy that comes up next,
which is not like, we can't give him that wiggle room.
Right. Absolutely. That's got to scare the shit out of him.
Right. And not only is it political suicide, but that's just one more instigation of some form of civil conflict, Civil War style conflict, or some. It's just going to make Texas, being Texas, dig their heels in even harder.
Right.
It's like, Beto, you need to just chill the fuck out, man. Just sit down and chill out. Let's not go there just yet. I mean, obviously, like I was saying in the first half, if Greg Abbott keeps saying, go pound sand for everything, it's just like, well, the Supreme Court said so. I don't care. I said it's my constitutional right. I don't care. Keep doing what you're doing, guys. You guys doing great. I'll take the heat for this one. And then they're like, well, we're going to cut off this funding. It's like, we don't care. We don't care. Keep doing. At some point, the federal government, I'm not saying they should, I'm saying they have to do something about it, because they can't let all these other states see what's going on here and think, oh, they're not allowing themselves to be pushed around. We're not going to allow ourselves to be pushed around either. Yeah. They've got to set an example with Texas, one way or another.
Well, and also, I mean, look at how many of those next Texas National Guard boys do you think, if Biden came in,
I've thought about that too. How many of them would be like, you're our boss now, we're going to defy Texas?
Yeah, right. Good luck.
How many of them are going to be like, we're going to defy the state of our great state of Texas?
Right. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. There's
we're going to lock you in we're going to lock you in the brig. It's like, come and get me.
Yeah.
I
mean, look what they did for the inauguration. I mean, they weeded out anybody they thought would be a problem,
right?
To defend the president or Biden's inauguration. So, I mean, now you're going to a whole state of Texans,
the state,
and say you're no longer Texan, right? Yeah. I mean, good luck with that.
You're American, not Texas.
Yeah,
it's like, all right. What do you think? Like, how far does Joe Biden take this then? Like, how far? Maybe, speaking of fed ups, maybe this is the standoff they need in order to invoke some sort of martial law, in order to stop the elections by November. Right. Like this, maybe, because we always talk about how they've game planned this thing out. Like the last election with Donald Trump, it's like, if it gets to the point where Trump is the election, what are we going to do to stop that? Like, they've game planned this all. They have to be game planning it now.
Oh,
because
they have to.
I mean, it's like Trump's lead is so much further than I think it was even in 2020. They've got to be game planning this out. It was like, I know we don't want this to happen, but as a last resort, maybe we should set up some conflict here, like a hotbed, like here. Like, who would be a good place to have some hotbed for, like, white nationalism, Christian nationalism, no less, and that would defy, like literally defy federal federal orders and possibly spark a civil war. Well, what about that state that's always saying they're going to start or secede from us?
Right.
Like they try to put it on the ballot every single election cycle. Maybe we should start something up in Texas, because I know that they would probably go through with it.
Yeah, that they are the poster boy for right wing.
Yes. So let's hold off. Like Beto O'Rourke's down there. It's like, let's just federalize national. It's like, whoa, slow down. We got to wait till it's close. We got to wait. This is like plan C.
Right.
Civil war is plan C.
Yeah.
To completely cancel elections. Let's see if we can rig elections first.
Right. Yeah.
If that doesn't happen, well, first let's see if we can just kick Trump off the ballot.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get him, like, he's a felony, so felon, so
he's not even on the ballot. Then plan B is rig the elections with the voter fraud.
And then we got Disease X sitting out there.
Yeah, we got Disease X, and then Civil War.
Yeah.
Okay, Civil War.
We got that in the back pocket.
Like, Beto, let's not show our hand too quickly here.
Right.
Come on. But talking about Civil War, like, let's get into this Vice article, because Vice is the one that's like, all these right wingers are just extremists calling for civil war. This one's funny. This has feds written all over it. It says the a GOP congressman tweeted after the Supreme Court ruling that the feds are staging a civil war and Texas should stand their ground. Says that's not a post by an anonymous user on fringe message boards. That was a post on X by Representative Clay Higgins, a GOP congressman from Louisiana, who is responding to the Supreme Court ruling that the Biden administration has jurisdiction over the border. Higgins' post was shared widely across extremist online ecosystems who lapped up the incendiary language. Man, if that shit pops off, it'll be open season for the feds, says one person on the far-right forum, patriots.win. So there is a far-right forum that's not a Fed-ran forum called patriots.win. And there is a guy who is clearly not a Fed.
Yeah.
I'm doing air quotes for people listening in the future. That says, man, if that shit pops off, it'll be open season on the feds. It's already started. One side is fighting, the other isn't, remarked another. Does that reek of Fed to you?
Yeah. I wouldn't touch that.
You're not gonna join the forum patriots.win?
No.
That doesn't sound like a legitimate Patriot site that's not Fed.
Yeah, no.
Derek Ambrose said, can I at least get my federal tax return back before any civil war? Hopefully. Last October, Border Patrol agents started cutting, blah, blah, blah. We talked about all that shit. Following the takeover, the DOJ filed a brief to the Supreme Court saying the Border Patrol can no longer access, blah, blah, blah. All the shit we just talked about. I want to get into the pure Fed shit. It says hardline anti-immigrant rhetoric, including explicit references to the racist Great Replacement conspiracy theory, have loomed large over the GOP 2024 campaign trail. Trying to figure out how do you get rid of the stupid box in my way? Like, I can't read.
I know. Like, who the hell is that? Michelle Obama?
No, it's not Michelle. It's gonna make me click on it, but it still won't go away. Jesus Christ.
There's got to be a mini X in there.
There's
somewhere.
nothing. There's no X's. What the fuck just happened?
Clicked on it, didn't you?
Fucking Vice. Hang on. Maybe it's gone now. Hardline anti-immigration rhetoric, including explicit references to the racist Great Replacement conspiracy theory, has loomed large over the GOP 2024 campaign trail amid the escalation of the standoff between Texas and the federal government over the border. Migrants coming over the southern border have been cast as invaders and falsely characterized as predominantly military-aged males. So there's that statement coming from a leftist site saying the Republicans are the ones saying it, but Joe Biden clearly called them military-aged males. It's like, if they stop these military-aged males from coming, then we're going to send F-15. It's just, it's all scripted. It's like it's left-wing scripted, right-wing scripted, left-wing script. It's like the left wing saying that the right wing scripted it for the left.
Yeah.
To defy the left. I don't know. It's like, did you ever watch MASH? You watch MASH, right?
Yeah.
Where you got the Colonel Flagg.
Mm-hmm.
And Colonel Flagg is CIA pretending to be FBI, pretending to be, or something like that. And he's like following that other guy that was on the other side. And he was pretending to be, it's like they were trying to catch each other as being a spy, but they were really both like feds trying to catch a spy, but they didn't know the other was a spy. And that's what it's the right and left always, it just reminds me of that. It's like, it's a right winger pretending to be a left winger, pretending to be a right or so. Yeah. I don't know. It's like they can't even keep themselves straight. Like the feds can't even keep themselves straight anymore. It says, now the Supreme Court's decision is acting as kerosene in an already inflamed political environment. Far-right pundits and lawmakers say the ruling is proof that the federal system is fundamentally broken and Texas should continue to assert authority on the border, no matter the consequences. Now, if you have somebody else pushing into something and saying, you should do this no matter the consequences, you should really question what you're doing because they're fine with you doing it no matter the consequences, but are they doing it no matter the consequences? Spokesperson for Texas Department of Public Safety, Lieutenant Chris Oliveras, said in a post on X that the state will maintain its current posture in deterring illegal border crossings by utilizing effective border security measures, which included razor wire if #Texas will continue to hold the line, he added. This is not over, Governor Abbott posted. Texas razor wire is an effective deterrent to illegal crossings. I want to get to the Fed boys. It says former Fox News host Tucker Carlson suggested on X that everyone in power, including the White House, hedge fund managers, and the Supreme Court, are part of a plan to destroy the country by allowing it to be invaded. That leaves the population to defend itself, Carlson wrote. Where are the men of Texas? Why aren't they protecting the state and their nation? So here's a Fed boy. I mean, a Proud Boy. To the Republic of Texas and my brothers in trenches holding off an invasion. We see you, kings.
That's cringe.
That's very cringe. Proud Boy chapter wrote on Telegram, which is not Fed infiltrated.
Not at all.
We've all been betrayed and sold out by an illegal government that's sole mission is to destroy our traditions, freedom of way of life. We refuse to concede our nation to the communists. America is counting on you to hold the line. Proud Boy chapter. Are the Proud Boys still even a thing? Are there any actual legit Proud Boys that aren't feds anymore?
Yeah, no, I think they've all been infiltrated.
Verified right-wing accounts made on X made similar calls to arms.
How do you verify right-wing accounts? Do you just call them up and say, are you right-wing?
Hey, are you right-wing? Yes, we are.
Okay, just checking.
We're verified. Texas should secede, wrote Gunther Eagleman.
They're not even trying.
Gunther Eagleman.
Really?
I mean, he's super patriotic.
Jonathan Red, White, and Blue Men.
Yes, who describes himself as an America First political commentator and says, fuck the feds. So he's legit. Steve Loves Ammo wrote, fuck the Supreme Court. Buy guns and ammo. Your government isn't coming to save you. There's also a new meme circulating in conservative and anti-government online circles showing a row of razor wire in the Texas Lone Star and words that say, come and cut it. There it is right there. Come and cut it. It's not even original anymore. So that's that. That's Vice on the extreme calls to arms, which I don't know. I can't trust any of this shit anymore to not be feds.
Yeah.
Maybe Gunther Eagleman is a true Fed. Maybe Patriot. What was it?
Win.
Patriot.win. Maybe it's a legitimate right-wing militia source that's not infiltrated by feds. Jarek says Kings sounds kind of gay to me. You just never know, man. I've heard stories about these Proud Boys. I mean, they're pretty gay these days. The Zot Man is here, says thoughts on the fact there's a Civil War movie coming out in April. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I completely forgot about that. Now we talked about this last week. I think because I talked about, or it was a couple weeks ago. I talked about the Obama production company's movie that came out early this year, late last year. That was about what would happen if what was it? Was it just communications? I think it was just communications. All got like hijacked or hacked and shut off, and like no communication. But it was also hijacked and blah blah blah. No, I'm not. I don't want to spoil it. Except it was a shitty ending. I will spoil that part of it. Now the same production company with the moniker being Obama's is coming out with a Civil War movie this April. I feel like some predictive programming coming.
Yeah, and there was somebody, oh God, who was it, that just came out and was warning on EMP attacks.
Oh, great. Who came out and said that?
Let's see here.
Please tell me it was like Anthony Fauci or somebody like that. It was Bill Gates, wasn't it?
Yeah, right.
Well, the real crisis that we need to be concerned about, is electromagnetic pulse. It's like, oh shit. Bill Gates said it in his freaking gay voice. Dude, you are terrible at this.
I know. I'm off my game. I don't know. No, I just heard
on your game. You're just always terrible.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, did you hear about this thing I should have brought that really has something to do with what we're talking about here, but I didn't bring it? Let me look that up real quick. So, while you're talking about that.
Okay.
How much of all of this would you say is kind of fabricated shit? Like, we already have kind of decided that the trucker convoy is probably a fed up.
Yeah.
We've kind of decided that all these Telegram groups are a fed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I feel like the shit down there is probably actually happening.
Yeah.
Like, Abbott's probably doing some kind of political stunt. He's trying to one-up DeSantis. He's trying to be the next front runner in the Republican Party.
Yeah.
But I feel like, again, it's like they got this in their back pocket. Like, we could definitely set up a Civil War type or a false flag or some kind of incident down there. Let's send in the Proud Boys and trucks and the farmers. We got
the farmers.
I'm a real farmer. I've got a piece of wheat. Hey, I'm chewing on a piece of wheat. Driving my tractor. I'm a real farmer.
Get them the John Deere tractor. We need them down there.
So, what percentage of this do you feel is legit? And what percentage is the media hyping it up, or the feds are trying to make it a bigger thing?
I think it's 70% hype.
70% hype. What percentage of Fed instigation?
Oh, I would say 40% Fed instigation.
70% hype. 40%.
No, I think the
those
media
numbers don't add up.
The media is trying to hype it up even more.
Media is hyping it up 70%.
I think the right-wing media is trying to be like, hey, this is it, guys. This is our country. We're taking it back, right? Because that's where I've seen a lot of the coverage is on the right-wing side saying, look, these 25 states are coming together, the governors, the National Guard, we're going down, we're going to take our country back.
Right. Yeah, I feel like the right-wing media just kind of plays into the hand of the Fed ops, and they're probably Fed ops themselves.
Probably.
Tucker Carlson's probably one of the bigger Feds. Either A, they're part of it, or B, they just play right into it. They're like, oh yeah, we're gonna go fight like hell.
Right.
Go down there and fight like hell, as Trump would say. But I feel like the majority of it isn't going to go anywhere.
No,
I feel like they probably want it to go somewhere, and it's going to get majorly hyped up, and it's just going to deflate.
Yeah,
like a Chinese weather balloon.
Yeah, and we just won't hear about it. It'll just die out.
It'll die out. I don't know that, or potentially something could, if they need something to happen down there, something, some big event could happen, or
Like you
they'll
said,
play something up to be a big
right.
event like January 6th.
Right. They're holding it in their back pocket. They're
Right.
waiting for it. In case it looks like Trump is pulling away, they'll pull something out.
Now, we talked about the states that, like you mentioned right before we went to break, you're like, no, a lot of states have their back. I wanted to look at the states that supposedly have Texas back. If something were to kick off, this is the last thing before we get out of here. We're kind of over our time, but that's okay. It's our show. There's 25 states, like you said. I'm going to take a look at those states. What states are supporting Texas? So here's a map of the states. Of course, obviously, red is the state supporting, blue is the states not. And coincidentally, red ones supporting are Republican states, and the blue ones not supporting are Democrat states, which is pretty much all of the Republican and Democrat states, except Vermont's the outlier. They're like, nah, we're not signing this statement.
We don't care.
Nah. Now, in the event of a civil war, based on their statement, I'm going to read their statement that they all signed. Do you think they actually have Texas's back? Because you're like, oh no, all these states have Texas's back.
Like I said, I know 10 states have sent National Guard. Which 10? I know Oklahoma and Florida have. I think Iowa did. I'm not sure which other. Oh, who's Kristi Noem? Is that South Dakota?
I don't know.
She sent all hers because she's been down there on the border all week.
Oh, okay. Now, this is the statement. We stand in solidarity with our fellow governor, Greg Abbott. Does that sound like we got your back, or does that sound like thoughts and prayers, my friend?
Thoughts and prayers. Yeah, we're sitting over here, but we got you.
We stand in solidarity with our fellow governor, Greg Abbott, in the state of Texas, and utilizing every tool and strategy, including razor wire fences, to secure the border. Because Biden administration has abdicated its constitutional compact duties. Now, they did come out and reiterate the whole he broke the compact, which again falls under that the Supreme Court doesn't recognize this as a compact.
Right.
So you can say that all you want.
Yeah.
But legally, no, we're not in a compact. Legally, no, you can't secede. But it says has abdicated its constitutional compact duties to states. Texas has every legal justification to protect the sovereignty of our states and our nation. Now, let's say all 25 of these do say, look, if you break up, if you go split, we're with you. We're splitting with you.
Yeah.
I feel like the red has a major geographical advantage looking at this map.
Well, yeah, they split this. They
split it completely in two.
Yeah. And what's Hawaii going to do?
The East Coast, well, what's Alaska going to do? The East Coast is separated from the Midwest, which is separated from the Southwest.
Right.
Like they're split into three factions there.
Yeah.
And then the red is interconnected pretty much all except for New Hampshire up there is like an outlier, which obviously New Hampshire is going to be like, nah, fuck that. We're going with you guys.
Yeah,
but it's like, sorry, you're out. You're kind of on your own. Right? Yeah. Nobody's getting help to you, New Hampshire.
Yeah. Well, what is that? Is that South Carolina's kind of fucked too?
Yeah. South Carolina. Is it? No, that's North Carolina. North Carolina is like, which I'm kind of surprised North Carolina is Democratic governor, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, how'd that happen? I've lived in North Carolina. I know a lot of people from North Carolina. How the fuck does that happen? But yeah, geographically, I feel like the red states could do a lot of damage in a civil war. They even have like the whole like southern Atlantic border, so it's not even like they're landlocked or anything. They have the whole Gulf of Mexico. They don't have any access to the Pacific that much, except Alaska. But really, how many Republicans are going to want to trade with China? Probably all of them. I don't know. I feel looking at this map, it could be an interesting civil war. It's more centralized than I thought it would actually be. Like more. Like we got, I'm not on either side of this. Republicans definitely, or the states that supposedly are in solidarity with Texas, they have the geographical advantage in this civil war.
Actually, I'm surprised Kentucky isn't on board. and
there's some there's like southern
and Arkansas. Well, no, I guess Arkansas is more Democratic right now.
It's Bill Clinton state,
Yeah.
so obviously,
right?
Arizona.
Yeah.
Well, did Arizona ended up going blue this last?
Yeah,
time.
they're blue now.
So interesting.
Yeah.
But back to how legal, like they say, it's not legal for them to. It's not legal for them to. This compact theory isn't.
Yeah.
Upheld by the Supreme Court. If a state was pushed to the point where they're like, we're leaving your country and declaring sovereignty, how much do you think they give a fuck if it's legal or not?
Yeah, no, they don't care.
How much do you think they care?
Yeah.
Oh, the Supreme Court's not gonna freaking uphold you as secession. It's like, screw your, like we're literally saying
we don't recognize your authority.
Yeah, we're saying up yours to the federal government. We're saying up yours to, well, the Supreme Court doesn't recognize you as a
fuck the Supreme
state.
Court.
It's like you're missing the point. Like all these legal scholars are like, well, technically they can't do that legally. It's like, if you are pushed to that point where you're like, I don't care about the implications of my actions here, but we are pulling out of the United States compact. It was like, well, you're not in a compact. It's like, I don't fucking care. I'm pulling out of it anyway because I said so. Yeah. It's just hilarious to me. I was like, well, technically, it wouldn't be legal to like betray the United States of America. Well, no shit.
Yeah, right.
No shit.
Yes.
It's like Abraham Lincoln and the Civil War solidified it so you can't actually secede.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't care.
Yeah,
I just don't care.
You know, but if the South would have won, then they would have been their own country.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, yeah, if the South would have won, they wouldn't have given two shits about how legal it was for them to secede.
Exactly.
They would have seceded. They would just be seceded.
Yeah.
They just don't. They wouldn't care.
Yeah. Right.
At that point, it's like, well, we really want to secede from the federal union here. But what's really holding us back is the law.
Yeah, right.
Of this government that we don't recognize.
We looked over the Constitution, and I guess we just can't do that.
We can't do it. We've got, like, legal scholars have said that this is not a compact.
Right.
So we can't do it, guys.
Sorry. I guess we have to stay.
You know, the law that, like, the government that we don't recognize as the government, they said we can't. So I'm sorry, we can't.
Yeah.
We can't leave.
Yeah.
It's such a... I love when people get into like constitutional argument because you can argue it obviously 8 different ways.
Yeah.
They do it all the time.
Right.
And then to say, well, legally, this wouldn't be legally binding. It's like, all right, well, I'm going to start up I'm going to have my own judge and it's going to be freaking, I don't know, some freaking redneck Southern guy that says it is legal.
Yeah, right.
He's going to write our own constitution. It's going to say Joe Biden smashed smashed the records.
Yeah.
That's the kind of legalese writing we're going to have in there. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where do you think this all goes? We have to get out of here.
I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I don't think it is. I do think though, I do think they do want a civil war.
Oh,
I do.
Absolutely.
And I do predict that the next president will see one.
We will see a civil war? You think so?
I think so. I think we will.
If Trump takes over, you think we see a civil war?
Yeah.
If Biden takes over, do you think we see a civil war?
Possibly.
If any of them take over, I feel like that's what, but they keep...
They're pushing it. They just keep pushing it.
But they're teasing us with this.
They are. But eventually...
It's like,
someone's going to make...
How long do we have to wait? Let's just get it over with.
Well,
like tear off
agree.
the Band-Aid and get it over with.
Right? No.
It's like, well, we're just waiting for the kids to move out. We're only in this staying
until the kids.
The kids want you to split up.
Yeah.
It's not that I want a civil war. It's not that I want the violence. It's like, if you're going to keep threatening, just fucking do it already. Right. Stop threatening and just do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Again, it'll give us more content.
Right.
As long as the internet's still up. But if Obama's production company has its way, the internet won't be up and we won't be able to do this. So we need to get our ham radio license.
Exactly. We need to focus on the ham radios.
Now, when we get our ham radio, we got to make sure, because it's for an emergency if the government like crashes and society goes to shit.
Yeah.
We got to make sure we're licensed with the FCC, obviously.
Yes.
Obviously, we got to be licensed.
We can't broadcast unless we have that license.
Legally.
Yes.
The law states. Well, we can't broadcast in emergency situations.
Hang it on the wall so that everybody can see it.
Just so you know, we are licensed ham radio operators.
And start the show with that every day so the FCC doesn't come busting in.
I think the FCC will have so much more to worry about than the two people that might listen to us on ham radio. I just want to figure out how to operate a ham radio, just to say I do.
Yeah, that would be cool.
When does Civil War kick off? What year? We predict this a lot.
26.
26. So 2 years from now. Early 26, late 26.
Early 26.
Okay. So exactly 2 years from now. I want to say it really depends on who becomes president.
Yeah.
It really does. And what happened, I got to kind of wait and see how this election cycle goes. If it,
they're going to pull some kind of shenanigans.
They will.
For this election. And I feel like that's going to be a huge move in that direction.
I feel like post-election, depending on where it goes, which I don't feel is going to go anywhere good. I feel post-election, maybe pre-election, just to shut down the elections.
Yeah.
So maybe late this year, early next year.
If they pull some bullshit and close down the elections this year, then that's going to
absolutely Civil War. Or they start a Civil War to close down the elections.
Right.
So I'm, God forbid, hopefully not, I'm predicting late 24, early 25. You guys tell us what you think. When is the second American Civil War going to kick off? And where does it kick off? It's obviously going to kick off in Texas. Even if it kicked off in Iowa.
Yeah.
Even if there was war raging, full-blown war raging in Iowa.
Texas would take the credit.
6 months later, Texas is like, fuck this, we're joining the Civil War. And they're like, Texas started a Civil War. We never get any
fucking
credit.
Texas.
We never get any credit. Tell us what you think. The comment section's always open. You can find us all over social media at the handle at Break the Bill Pod. Share this far and wide. Tell us your predictions of the American Civil War, because we want to know. And we'll probably laugh about it as it's happening. Check us out. Share us far and wide so that people can hear our predictions and know that we were right. Because I'm usually right. I'm usually right when it comes to predictions. It's kind of bothers me because I don't want a Civil War to kick out in 2024. But I called that freaking what's the name? DeSantis was gonna drop out that week. What? I was a day off. I'm sorry, I was a day off. I called that Vivek was gonna drop out that night, and he did. So I hope I'm not right. But I will say I told you so. I absolutely will.
Yeah.
Make sure
an FCC licensed ham radio channel.
We're going to be back here next Monday night. Hopefully the Civil War hasn't kicked off by then, because then I'll be wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
But we will be back one way or another. Make sure you're here every Monday night, most Monday nights, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Join the fun. It's always fun. Thank you to everybody who participated in the comments and joined in this shenanigans that we do.
It's always fun.
Have a great rest of your week. We will catch you next week.
Peace.
Goodbye.